Here it is. We're continuing the march for the firefighters, butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors, electricians, the plumbers, the welders, daycare workers who changed some diapers. The rain has stopped and I'm grateful because I forgot to pack my raincoat. Thank you, my anonymous friend. If I make a man, I'm gonna give her half. I forgot to pack my raincoat. I put it to straighten, but I forgot to pack it. And so I hope it's not gonna rain until at 9, otherwise I'm gonna get soaked. And the documents are pretty safe because I have a bag that's kind of protecting them. But how's the rain cloud over there? Thunder cloud. It's not supposed to rain and thunder until 9, so after 9 please, so I can get to the mountain and back at my minimum 4 hours. My minimum 4 hours of marching, that'll be good. And always for the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the doctors, the plumbers, the electricians, the firefighters, and all those train conductors, and the plumbers, the welders, and all who are involved in the production and distribution of food, construction workers, welders, and electricians. And this row, I really, really love. This is so gorgeous. This is really nice. I wish I could buy my anonymous friend a house with a beautiful, beautiful garden like this. That would be so nice. The whole world is a garden, really, but I like how it's arrayed here, and the color is kind of really, really beautiful light. It's a really gorgeous, really nice how it's made. And that garden is also nice. They're yellow and white. So me, I go crazy for yellow flowers. So we were discussing mathematics, how math is everywhere. I was discussing a little bit of my AS, Asperger syndrome, also known as high functioning autism, and ASD level 1, but it's just a neurological, mental, and divergent condition with which I live with. And it's not a disease, it's not an illness, it's just something that's often misunderstood, mislabeled as such, but it is of course always inconcordated to my work, because these vlogs are my work. Rock and roll, artistic, geopolitics, 24/7 geopolitics, rock and roll, and dancing. I love dancing as I am. Be the priestess of the goddess. N.A.C.W.P is not for blessing. Look at those beautiful flowers. And I wish I could buy my anonymous friend a house, and I gotta cross to that side to look at those. They're all white. Turn your heads left and right before you cross the street, nonetheless, because sometimes the electricity might malfunction. The brakes might malfunction. The citizen driver might press the accelerator instead of the brake, and just to avoid, for myself or yourself, I always encourage citizens to do that. Yeah, it's all white, Not bad. I like it. I like multicolor. I like yellow, but it's also pretty nice. It's also nice how it's with the rocks and the buildings interjected, the building blocks, but they're not really building blocks. They're more like raw rocks, but they are chiseled a bit. They are not really. They have been pretty much handcrafted in many ways. I assuming with some tools round about their shape, but they look a bit rawish or naturalish. But I'm not an expert in gardening, but I love gardens and I love yellow flowers. And I wish I could buy my friend a house, anywhere on the island of Montreal. And next week in July, we're gonna also have to start going by the river again. I'm curious if that house by the Weeping Willow is still for sale. It's still for sale, because if it is, of course, then we're gonna have, of course, to be also, of course, to be doing it, of course, in the relationship of where we are now, of course, to be related, of course, the representation. So that's where we are in the array, and it looks like a sunny ways on the way to the mountain. And we are on the mountain. Actually, we're on West Mount. One of the 3 peaks of the mountain is Mount Royal proper, and you got Outremont, West Mount, and of course it is Outremont and West Mount, of course, which have their relationship, of course, beautiful, gorgeous. I like the combination of the multicolor there. So nice. Those are really good. And the twin yellow ones, they're so big, of kind of gorgeous, looking outward like trumpets. So I'm glad I took this route to see those twins, because they're really alive and beautiful, and love me some of those kind of tiny yellow flower bushes, and that's where we are, of course, now, to congregate and to be, of course, in the relationships of where we exist now. So that's always something which we gotta admire, admiring, of course, it is also the admiration of being and the relationship of existing as a faculty, of course, of our trajectory and our course of daily, weekly Aspie routines, because me, I have my Aspies, we have routines, and my routines are always surrounded around geopolitics, marching, that is working out and dancing and rock and rolling, pretty much engage in those activities, sometimes with super intensity, super focus, and again, it's been a tough journey for me. It took me years and years and years to accept my AS, Asperger syndrome, from about 2015 spring till about, it took me more than 7 years to accept it, till about, from about 2015 spring till only around October 2022, so more than 7 years it took me. I didn't want to accept the label, I didn't want to accept the label, the stigma. I got 20 seconds, I can go. I don't want to accept the label, the stigma, I'm not ashamed. I don't mask, I don't mask. At least not that I'm aware of. I guess sometimes maybe I still mask, and this can be autistic masking can be a problem for Aspies, It was beautiful. It's better not to. It's too, it can be too draining, too consuming to mask autistic traits and characteristics, because it's not a disease, it's not an illness, right? AS, Asperger syndrome, it merged with high-functioning autism and is now known as HFA, and ASD level 1 autism spectrum disorder. So it's not a disease. Yes, myself included, I have the double DD in parentheses, the disability and the disorder, but that's superseded, cancelled out by the double SS, the special skills. To the positive attribution, to the positive side. I like this combination of red and white here. Oh, that one's for sale. That one's for sale. I wonder how much is the asking price for that one. Now it's for sale. I wish I could buy it for my friend. I wish I could buy her a house. Oh, there's no price actually, but anywhere, any house, anywhere would be nice, On the island of Montreal, that would be nice. So there's always math, always mathematics in my brain, calculations, velocities, ratios. And before, and of course, I was saying, of course, the relationship, of course, of discussion, that all these cars have a plus and a minus. So because they're in motion, right? They're in motion now, they have a plus. So basically their plus is the mileage that they're gained, whether 5 meters, 10 meters, and once you reach 1,000 meters, that's 1 kilometer, right? 1 kilometer. 1,000 m is 1 km. 1,000 meters is 1 kilometer. So all the cars that are in motion, they're always adding plus 5 meters. That car is adding 5 yards, 5 meters, 5 yards, 5 meters, until it reaches 1,000 meters. Once it's 1,000 meters, then it's 1 kilometer. Then it's 1 kilometer. So of course it adds then in consequence. So that consequential addition is always it always is increasing to the mileage that specific car has, right? And of course that specific car has in the relationship of being, that is of course that it has also a minus, because from the gas tank it's consuming gas. So thus, there's also the minus, not just the plus per distance, right? Each car has a consumption rate. Now, knowing that 95% of cars run on gas and is on electric, most cars run on gas. Most cars run on gas. Oh, is that for the FIFA World Cup? Oh, that's Argentina, right? Argentina. Oh, I'm glad Canada passed. First time in history. I think that's Argentina. Yeah. Dancing is my favorite sport, but yeah, that looks like it's for... I'm pretty sure that's Argentina, though. The flag. Oh, yeah, it is. Shade a bit blurred, but pretty sure. I saw the sun in the middle. The sun. That was like a smiley sun. Blue and white. Because blue and white is also Quebec, but the blue is a different shade of blue for Quebec. The Quebec flag, right? With the Canadian flag. So, I'm okay with soccer. I'm cheering for Canada first, United States second, Mexico third, and I was cheering for Haiti and Germany fifth and Egypt sixth. And those were my 6 teams in that order. But dancing is my favorite sport, and then I love gridiron, North American football, not to be mistaken with soccer. I know soccer is also known as football, but speaking about CFL, NFL type of style of gridiron, North American football. But I like soccer as well. I'm watching the FIFA, especially I'm cheering for Team Canada, go, you know, it's always rock and rolling. And this house is also for sale. This one will be perfect for my anonymous friend. I could have a room for geopolitics, a room for Aspiesque related activities. Well, geopolitics is my special interest in rock and roll, so that's 24/7. And of course, dancing, one for dancing. Because dancing is my favorite sport, and this is also a nice architectural design here. It's what I like a lot is the pillars, I like those type of structures with pillars, and I don't know if they're Ionic, Doric, or Corinthian. That's something that I don't really know. The Greco-Roman style, right? But the architectural design of those pillars, I like. This one would be nice, perfect. Split 50-50 with my friend, but here we are, saluting the train conductors, the butchers, the bakers, nurses, doctors, electricians, plumbers, train conductors, welders, electricians, welders, plumbers, butchers, nurses, daycare workers changing diapers, the bakers, the bakers, and that's just what it is with that, and that's just what we got, of course, in the architectural design, of course, of it being a difference which I live with, It's not a disease, it's not an illness. Sometimes it is confused, and sometimes a lot of patience is required in relation to Asperger's syndrome, and of course it is the neurological divergent condition, of course, which can be mistaken often as a disease, as an illness, and unfortunately it requires some patience. We do have some challenges, like I said, like it's mentioned in the books, which I recommend. I recommend Appreciating Asperger's Syndrome, Asperger's Inside Out, and Teaching Asperger's Syndrome, Teaching Asperger's students social skills through acting. All their world is a stage. I know that sounds more like a paragraph, but that is the title of the book. It's called Teaching Asperger's Students Social Skills Through Acting, All Their World is a Stage. So as you can see, I got 13 seconds. As you can see, as it's inferred by the title, that we lack social skills. We can be, it's not that because our brains have a mutation, right? So we see the world differently. And that's certain social skills and unawares of unwritten social norms, unwritten social rules. Those can be difficult for Aspies. Those can be really difficult. And I learned the hard way myself. For example, not having a social filter. Not having a social filter can be problematic. Not having a social filter, that can be problematic, right? So, because it might pertain to losing opportunities and jobs. It might trigger opportunity losses. But the concept of having a filter and the motives, the reasons, I understand them now. But like a few years ago, I would have not the same, because it took me again years to accept it. Since around spring 2015, I've been told by several individuals that I've experienced working with autistic people and people on the spectrum, of course, that this is the difference in how we see the world and how we perceive the world, and our brains are fundamentally, they have a tiny small mutation. Now, whether it's hereditary, biological, or environmental, the causes, so what causes autism generally, and Asperger's syndrome being that it merged with autism in 2013, 2014, is inconclusive. We don't really know what causes it. That's a beautiful garden. We don't really know exactly. It could be either or, genetic, that is hereditary, or it could be biological. Well, genetic, hereditary, biological is the same, right? Genetics, genes, hereditary, or biologically. But it could also be, hey, look at that tiny small chipmunk there. So tiny. I see it all blurred. But it could also be environmental. So it could be either or a combination of environmental factors and hereditary factors. Right? And we don't all have the same special interests. Some Aspies have vehicles, automobiles, transportation, and satellites. Not all Aspies are good at computer science. I'm just beginning. But indeed, myself, as many Aspies, we are above average in mathematics. Sometimes I just calculate the answers and they just pop in my brain. Percentages, ratios, multiplications, right? But I'm no Claude Shannon or Stefano Dobleja, but I always do math. I like percentages, ratios, and as a matter of fact, I'm going to interject a mathematical question, which is pertinent for where we are now at this point in time, because myself, my only stress now being that it is financially. My only stress now is financial. Besides financial stress, I'm pretty joyous, pretty jovial, and I got to thank my anonymous friend. Earlier, she got me a coffee, and I wish I could buy her a house. If I make $1 million a beer in a tree, I'm gonna give her half, even if I fight Donald Trump, I guess. Fight Donald Trump. I've been challenging Donald Trump since 2018, 2018. I still got the red gloves. They're a bit damaged because I used them a lot. Remember, she got me those gloves in 2018. Red, my favorite color, red. Red gloves, and of course that was a while ago, and that's just something which we have now. For the left and in the right and in the middle, and of course all the left and in the right, but now I gotta turn our heads left and right here because of course the relationship of course where we got now is of course something which we countervalued and counterbalance, right? But the sun's shining so strongly. The sun's shining so strongly. See, look, that is, see the river there. But that's actually miles and kilometers away, eh? And I wish I could buy my anonymous friend a house here on D. Ramsey, but the sun shines so strongly now. It's so powerful. Really, wow, it just started shining so nicely. Just out of nowhere, from the clouds. Just bursted through. This is what I want, thank you. Because I forgot to pack my raincoat. Again, my anonymous friend gifted me that raincoat. It's worth now, because I wore it a few times, it's worth a few million, so auctioning everything that I'm wearing. And I have a new deadline, July 1st, of course, but that, of course, is gonna be extended, I guess, between July 24th and 9/11, September 11th, in that counter value, and of course that counter value is of course always implemented with the beautiful sky which we have, and you know how it is with yours truly, always for the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the doctors, the firefighters, the electricians, the plumbers, the train conductors. Gotta salute the train conductors, gotta salute the electricians, the welders. You hear the sirens of the ambulances, the firefighters, the police do the Imperial full circle protocol for citizen security. 180 to the right, 180 to the left. Make sure everything is safe around you. Eh? What I call the full Imperial citizens, full circle Imperial citizen security and safety public protocol. Basically, when I'm in the public, so I got added responsibilities, Duties and obligation. And if you hear the fire truck, like that, turn 180 to the left, 180 to the right. You know, the multi-million-dollar car. It's not that important as life, life, human life. Even our brothers and sisters who are financially struggling like myself, it doesn't mean that we don't have a lot of value. My theories, protocols are worth billions and trillions. And I got trillions of kisses in the relationship what we got, and that was just the relationship, of course, of being, and that's what we got now, of course, always for the representation what we got, and it's always a salutation to the firefighters, the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the doctors, the electricians, and of course to credit all. We're going to credit our Imperial public security forces and public service forces, $1 million in today's value, if anything happens, and to die in the line of duty. They die in the line of duty, or what have you. We're gonna credit, of course, them $1 million. $1 million. This is gonna be the pertinency to credit our brothers and sisters in whether they of course, whether she, they, or whoever person is, gonna credit them a million. The public security, firefighters, and even those repairing the aqueduct. The civilization is a privilege, and we gotta rebalance the public and the private. My theories, my dream is for a mass PPP, public-private partnership rebalancing, public-private partnership rebalancing of the North American Collective on the 63. I always put it my steps for the 10, the 50, and the 10, the 50, and the 3. For the N.A.C.W.P, the North American Collective Workers' Party, which is to be a fusion, a coalition, the left, right, and in the middle. My universal revolutionary centrism is, of course, as you know, or you don't know, North American centric. North American centric, because fundamentally I haven't even left the island of Montreal in more than 7 years. 7 years I went in the South Shore. I went to the District and Chambly. The new District there is a shopping center on the South Shore in Brossard. But I haven't left the island of Montreal in 7 years. Think about that. So as much as I can be a world citizen, try to be a world citizen, and for world peace, my experience in the past 7 years, although every day I educate myself and I learn from different news outlets such as Vion, Deutsche Welle from Germany, from India, from, of course, from the Middle East, from Africa, from different parts of the world. I am a North American and Canadian Quebecer Canadian. Here we love the French language. Look at that beautiful downtown core area. It took so many cranes, workers who build skyscrapers of the North American Collective. I gotta sense I'm loving those who build the skyscrapers. You rock. All construction workers rock. It's just that I'm looking at the skyscrapers now, and I was trying to imagine how, it's brave. It's also brave, to go on the cranes, to go on the cranes with the metal, the cement, the steel, and it's crane operators that rock and roll. And you know that I have a little bit of a crane fetish, Crane operators. I wrote a few songs for the crane operators. But of course it is the relationship of which we have now, of course, in the integral, and of course all that manifestation is, of course, now as we are appellate about, and that appellation is always integral to what we have here as we go. But I like these yellow flowers as well. And here's the mountain. The mountain is right here. Beautiful mountain, But we already were on the mountain, on West Mount, which has, Mount Royal proper has 3 peaks: West Mount, Outremont, West Mount, right? So those are the 3 peaks of the mountain. And that's a nice architecture there. Look at that beautiful architecture. I love those 2 buildings. I call them twins. Twins. They're not really twins, but of course they are gorgeous, They are gorgeous, and we have beautiful flowers here, which I really love. The gardens, and it's a great island, great city, Great island, great city, and got some more beautiful type of reddish burgundy flowers here and there, and nice red and orange, and of course flowery orange and flowery red, and it's a beauty. We're gonna enter the mountain from that side. Usually we enter by the east. Well, actually the east is the other way. We enter from the west because I'm coming towards the east. I meant to say going towards the east because I'm coming from the west going east. Even now I'm going east. But sometimes you can enter roundabout from different sides from the south. So now I'm going to enter from the south, right? From the south of Mount Royal proper, which has 3 peaks, 3-peak mountain right between the east and the west. The mountain is right between the east and the west, but it's slightly south, and here you can have some charges. So this is an electric car, and I gotta give a salutation here that, of course, in Quebec, all the electricity is clean, zero pollution energy emission, We got 63 generating power stations. 63 generating power stations, and that emit no pollution. Generally, they're pollution free, They're pollution free. They utilize water, including in my work too. It's water, you know. It's water. It's water that they use, eh? It's water. So it's the water that is providing the electricity from those 63 generating power stations, from the rivers, from the lakes, and from all, of course, which are in the... Well, they're spread around, really. They're spread around. The dams. The newest ones are La Romaine, 1, 2, 3, or 4. So we got 63, interestingly enough, because I always put the steps for the 10, the 50, and the 3. That's how we gotta be, and gotta salute the nurses, the doctors, the firefighters, the plumbers, and the electricians, the bakers here, and we gotta get a little bit of that rock and roll, and gotta check a little bit for that mobile. Here's the side, the south. So this is south of the Mount Royal. This is south. We're going east. When I go back home, I'm going west. But this is south. The other side is the north. So now I'm south, right? South. So that, for example, the hospital is south. And you know, I always remind myself that I don't like violence, but I had to go years and years ago. I survived the vicious murderous homicidal surprise attack. I was all bloodied up with a severely dislocated right shoulder, right arm, and I had to go to the Jewish General Hospital. This is not the Jewish General Hospital. I had to go for a procedure. The doctors they snapped back my dislocated right shoulder. Thank you. They cracked it back, and I was given a removable cast and some meds. I'm in the process of retrieving the archives. And seeing, of course, how that goes, how they will, of course, be, and in the future, and of course, all those parameters which are to be instituted, you know, parameters that exist now, you know, always for the 10, the 50, and the 3, and always, of course, in the relationships of existing, in the faculty, of course, of knowledge, or the faculty of knowing when did I go, because I don't know exactly when I went. Probably 2013, as you know, I have a very good memory of the past 11 years, 12, then before February 2014, for October 2013, it goes on a blackout. Blackout, it's like foggy, you know, it's just foggy, and then blackout, it's kind of like retrograde amnesia. Sometimes memory comes back, and when I go back before 2017, and I have no nostalgia, my life is worse. I was living in a moldy place, didn't even have a bathtub. I had no bathtub where I used to live, eh? There was no bathtub, and there was no bathtub. I lived in a moldy place, and nothing that I will to go back to, eh? May I live for today, and carpe diem for today, and that's how I live. Please don't throw the trash there, put it in the garbage, and see, that's why we need the DGA. There's so much garbage and trash all around here that we gotta clean. See, like this one, and that, see, it's all around here. Just put it in the trash. It's not... Here by the mountain, we try to preserve it. So you got trash, or you put it into recycling if it goes into recycling. So as I love coming here, you know, it's always something that I love, and I go on the stairs, and if anybody wants to finance, you know, that I go on the stairs, I'm gonna just now let my main out, get the priestess out, priestess of the goddess, H. Got the Hannah, priestess. Go kisses, what about it? Anybody wants to finance that I do the stair dance on the stairs without staring, from the dragon's lair up to the mountain. This is my second home. Is not just mine, but it's yours and mine and ours, and we gotta do the do. We gotta do the do, and don't pollute. You can go up and down these stairs 300 times, $1 each time. And here it's in the wilderness, eh? We got flora, fauna, beautiful layers of Mother Nature. And you just gotta be careful, because sometimes the trees branches fall, and these are more rare here. Part of the mountain is you have these that are kind of inclined, You see how they're kind of inclined on the side, almost like they're dancing. Those are inclined in the kind of opposite direction. It's kind of cool. Kind of forms like an arch. And so we got chipmunks here, we got rabbits, we got, stay away from the raccoons, eh? Or keep a distance from the raccoons. I know they're beautiful, me too, I love them, but keep a distance. And we got hawks, HAWKs, and I always love coming here, you know, it's always a refreshing air, and you sip it in. It's just that, of course, the mistress or the goddess, me being a speck of dust who wills to build the forgotten goddess temple. And look at that, isn't that amazing? Look at those, how many they are. It's so nice. Don't eat them, but they're all around. But you gotta go on the side there, see? But they're really nice all around. We got flora, and you got some beautiful type of purplish. See those purple? Yeah. Yes, you like it here, you know, it's something, of course, that we got, of course, in the interjection. But those red ones are not edible, by the way. They're not berries, right? They're just beautiful to look at. Like, just be careful. Don't start eating, of course. That we have, of course, to be in the relationship where we got in the proposition, of course, of existing with Mother Nature in symbiosis. We're gonna get, of course, now to coexist with it in a velocity of which we have now to be, of course, the relative aspects of our dynamic love for nature. And the mistress is sometimes fierce, and the branches fall, you know, so be it. Watch it for the branches in the relation with the upper sues of the branches that are already cracked. See, like that one is already cracked. Once the wind is gonna blow harder, it will fall. And that's why I always warn people when you see my videos for years and years and years, just like I warn people about the dangers, because some people might not know that this is a forest on the mountain, and that some of the trees shed those branches. And of course, shedding those branches is, of course, although it is a shedding of the branches which happens at different intervals, once you enter the mountain, and especially here, it's in parallel to the main road, then of course you would have these branches which of course fall, especially during a storm or after it rained. And here you gotta take a big inhalement because the air is so fresh. And we gotta get, of course, on the freshness of the air, and that is a beauty, you know, a beauty. And that is just the beautiful representation, of course, of the mountain. And you have some mushrooms. We got hawks, 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 wild berries, and beautiful rocks. And you gotta watch it after it rained earlier, so it's a bit slippery, slippery. I'm not wearing the boots because I said today, not the boots. I'm wearing them all week, and I'm reporting a hole on them, so they're not that resilient anymore because I already marched in them more than the generals of NATO. Already marched in them more than the generals of NATO in Concordia. So, yep, here we are. These are got in the holiday season for somebody. I'm auctioning them for $1 million, $1 billion, $1 trillion to give them half to my anonymous friend. I moved there with nothing, eh? July 1st is going to be 11 years since I moved there with nothing, and I wrote hundreds of rock and roll songs and much of my geopolitical work, and I don't have nostalgia, eh? My life was worse before 2017, eh? I was depressed, suicidal. Crossing Canada coast to coast made me come out of my depression. And of course, that's when I got out of my depression, of course, in the Concordiates. But that's when I got out of my depression by that event. Crossing Canada coast to coast with my anonymous friend in August 2017. We went out west, and It was a 3.5 day bus ride to go and 3.5 days back to go, and of course back in September of that same year, 2017, we took the train 25 hours and 44 minutes. 25 hours and 44 minutes more than a day from Montreal to Halifax. So 2017, summer 2017 is going to be 9 years in a few months since we crossed Canada coast to coast. And that event made me come out of my depression and I stopped being suicidal, you know. As long as I can remember, I've been out in the open about being part of the LGBTQ community. I'm androgynous, pansexual, you know. Part of my reincarnation sometimes was born a man, a woman, and a woman, a man, man, a woman, woman, man. 50-50 as a priestess in ancient Egypt, a priestess, Pythia was I, who wrote the great Rithria to Lycurgus. And if you know George Patton's poem, Through a Glass Darkly, George Patton wrote a poem, Through a Glass Darkly, one of my favorites. But he didn't mention his woman incarnation, feminine incarnations, but that's how you get 50-50 with me today now, 26th of June 2026, 6 years after I survived COVID, I thought I was going to die. Thank you to my anonymous friend again. She was doing hot teas, water, medicaments, hot teas, waters, and medicaments, and of course, those medicaments with hot teas, hot water, ginger water, that helped survive. I thought I was going to die. Last week of February, first week of March 2020, I was really sick. I thought I was kaput, that's it. I did die in many ways, you know. Changed my name, but still to pay those dollars. See what I was saying? Look at the branch. See, that's just stuck there before it fell from above. So it's stuck. Now, when the velocity of the wind comes in a certain direction, it will fall. So if you jog or come here, just be aware. Look. See, that's why I warn people. It's not for nothing. Look, this can be dangerous here. They fall from above. See how many there around about. There's so many. So even me, I almost got it. Last 2 years ago, it was a big one. It was like to my right. I even have it on camera. You can see go down. That was a huge branch, though. That would have been could have been even mortal, you know. So just be careful if you come here. That's basically fundamentally what I'm advising people to do. See, it's branches everywhere. These are usually tossed from here. Some of them fall here, but since people jog and run here or take the dogs, usually even myself, this is for many videos, even myself, I take them and I put them on the side, see? For example, but the slower you go, the more you're at risk. But if you jog, you have differentials. But see, this one is a bigger one. This one's huge, of course, what we have now to be correlated. And of course, all that is something which we go. But see, that's what I don't like. I don't mind people drinking, but just don't leave it here. See the cans. For years and years, I've been doing this. Just don't leave that there, you know. Just don't leave that there. Of course, just don't leave that there. So just don't leave that there. That's the most important thing, you know. That's the most important thing. So this one also. See this one also. This one, no, please. Now this one has to be disposed properly. This is a keel. This can be swallowed by a big rabbit, you know, by a big rabbit. By a big one. So no, this of course is dangerous because this has all sorts of chemicals in it. All sorts of chemicals, right? So this is no, please. For years and years I've been here. That's why we need the DG. I've been doing this for years. It's not new, eh? So I don't mind you drink, but don't leave it here. Don't leave it in like here. I know somebody drank and you drank yesterday or during the weekend, last weekend, you left it there, and Canada, whatever, brewed in Canada, that's good. I don't drink much. I don't know if I was an alcoholic before 2014, January, February, but maybe, of course, it is something now which we have, of course, but I don't drink much, rarely, and my friend's gonna make a sangria from leftover wine, but just please don't leave it there. Just recycle it or garbage it. I've been doing this for years and years, eh? Oh, so we're gonna pass by here in the integral aspect. So now's the sunny day, but if it's stormy or windy, of course, then you have to watch it. because the branches will fall, of course, in the perpendicular to where we got now, of course, to be. But it's a prudence which we have to keep in mind, hey, and where we are in this beautiful wilderness of on the mountain, and we rock and roll, saluting the firefighters, the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the doctors, electricians, plumbers, train conductors, always my marching steps from the N.A.C.W.P for the 10, the 50, and the 3, and got that cadence, and gotta get it, of course, for the left and for the right, and in the middle, daycare workers changing diapers, and again, back to reincarnations. I'm a mystic, I do believe in reincarnations, and of course, didn't mention in one of my favorite poems, Through a Glass Darkly, that George Patton was also born a woman, and we were married. I was his wife, he was my wife. We were husband and wife. Once I was the husband, once the wife, with George Patton, the general, 3,000 years ago or so. And here you can have yourself, you can situate yourself where we are, but it's of course always a situational awareness of the falling branches. So the branches can fall in concordia sometimes, eh? They can go, of course, where they are. And see, this is, I don't like this at all when I see this. Again, because of the flora, eh? The flora fauna. We're trying to preserve here, eh? We're trying to preserve here, see? We're trying to preserve here. We're trying to preserve here, see? So this has to be thrown properly. This is pleasant. This is new. This was built. Thank you, workers, public workers. It's good to have a job. I had many jobs, eh? I had many jobs. Photo for photos, and nice photos you can take there. But of course, I had many jobs. It's just I lost them, eh? It's just losing jobs, losing friends has been a perpetual experience over the past 11 years, eh? And not just me, but many Aspies, many people on the spectrum. And it's interesting that more Aspies, more people who have Asperger's syndrome there's a more commonality to be gender diverse and LGBTQ. At least because maybe many Aspies, because we're not in the closet, and maybe that's why I got attacked by surprise. I survived a vicious murderous homicidal surprise attack years and years ago, and I don't like violence, but I am hyper vigilant and I can be intense. Many Aspies can be. But I don't like violence, and I was thinking one of the songs I wrote in, like, I don't remember writing the first copy. I remember writing the edits, the other, basically the remixes of the song in about around 2014, 2015, and even during COVID. But the original dates back from like September 2009, like January, February 2010. It goes like this. This is because it's Pride Month, so I'm going to sing it a bit because I got to celebrate Pride. It goes like this. Sometimes the rock and roll rap song. Gotta play black and white and rainbow. For all my homos, shake your head like you legions of the Julius Caesar rainbow. Give me some legions, black and white and rainbow for my homos. Give me some legions. Legions of homos, black and white and rainbow. Legions of homos, like I'm deep throat, like I'm Julius Caesar. Let's go. Gridiron, second tackle, and that fumble, Michael Sam. Michael Sam was actually Michael Sam was the first open gay player who was drafted. Michael Sam. So the remix made some references to Michael Sam, but I remember writing the original. I'm just saying maybe that's why I got attacked by surprise because of that, but I don't know for sure, right? I don't know. I just remember also I was years and years ago, I was downtown. It was like before dawn, before sunrise. I was getting kicked by this group of people I don't know if I was on drugs or if I was drunk, because I don't do drugs. I don't consume alcohol very rarely, but maybe before February 2014, October 2013, maybe I was a junkie, you know? Maybe I was doing drugs and alcohol, and that's why I have trouble remembering my life. But my life got better after 2017, so even after I survived COVID, so I have no nostalgia, you know? I live for today. I'm pretty happy, pretty joyous, and thanks my anonymous friend again for the coffee. That was so nice of her. If I make $1 million, $1 billion, I proposed twice, but I gotta know. The last deadline to propose is September 11th. September 11th, final deadline. Maybe I'm gonna do it on July 1st or when Leo, month of Leo starts. month of Leo on the 24th of July. Maybe that's when it's best, so here we are in the relationship, of course, of being and existing. This is the headquarters of the dancing goddess and the dragon kingdom, and I love coming here. Sometimes, depending on what season it is, you can see little sparks between like certain times. It's satellites, right? There's the solar panels, but it's flashes, right? There's of course flashes of those sats in a parallel life. I built, design satellites, supercomputers, microchips, RCBM rockets in the contingency in the year darkness 2030, and here it is. Headquarters of the dancing goddess and the dragon kingdom. I come here for years and years and years and years. Many, of course, for years. And this is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful yellow flowers. Thank you, public workers. I love that they change it interchangeably. And many, many years, they actually suggest a change, eh? And here we are. That's my favorite skyscraper. And so you can bring it to the lost and found. You have a lost and found inside, eh? And these yellow are gorgeous. I know you are paid by the hour, but it's super important for these. Eh? These are really nice. Whoever planted them, I know you are paid by the hour. It's a really nice garden here, what you got. Of course, all that relationship is, of course, the relationship that exists. And I gotta salute the workers who built this here, who built it here. Imagine all the brains and muscle to build all this, to build it, to have the pipes. The pipes were brought up all the way here. The pipes, of course, to build, and of course, all the buildings here were the pipes where they are. But it took brains and muscle, of course, to be the brains and muscle. And of course, it took the relationship, of course, of where we are now today. But it took so much effort and building and brains and muscle just to build this, to bring the water here. I'm waiting a few seconds because there's on the pipe residue, the residual pipe excesses, right? Oh yeah, sweet man. Ah yeah. Oh yeah, that was good. Beautiful sky, eh? Beautiful sky we got there, and got, of course, some of that left and right and in the middle, and we got, of course, some of those, of course, water now interjected here, and of course all the way across the oceans for the left and the right, and gotta get it for those who build, of course, these buildings and the structures and all of these now, where we are coexisting in the faculty of existence, where we correlate ourselves with the dynamics. So this is where we are now. See, that is the skyscraper there, eh? That is the skyscraper. That's my favorite skyscraper, the pyramid. Those are the 50 states are down there. Left and right are the 50 states of where we are. But of course, those are the relationships of where we got, where that's the river. So you can see the river there. So the river, of course, surrounds it. And that's the river that surrounds the island of the Hawk Island, Montreal. And there you can see, of course, the big mountains. The big mountains, of course, for that we do. So that is the skyscraper, which is the pyramid, right? And the other ones were built kind of around the 70s, 80s, most of them, 90s. The new ones are actually the Canadian ones. The new ones are the Canadian ones, That's where we're going to go. The Canadian ones, So that's So we are to take screens, so all of course the relationship of where we are now and the faculty of course of the dynamism which exists is that we have to get rid of the border, get rid of the border, get rid of the border, of course implement the trinity of theories, that's what we gotta do, so that's what we gotta do. So these flowers are really nice here, how they are, they gotta be doing of course where they are, and that's how we enjoy ourselves. And we gotta thank again the public workers. I know you are paid by the hour, but it's good to have a job, good to have a job, and relationships of existing now, and the faculty of course to be and left and the right and in the middle, and just where we are. These are also cute, these ones are also nice, kind of like flowery, low, sprinkly, and inside of them they're really nicer. They're nice. There are smaller ones, and of course the faculty. These are also nice here. What we got, These are also nice and vivid. Those are also kind of cool. There's a ratio, of course, of them, which is pertinent, of course, to the dynamics where we got now to be related. Yep. Yeah, well. So, we're going to go to see another aspect of the city by a different route. But I just wanted to discuss, of course, a little bit about my parallel life in 2030. In 2030, of course, the parallel life. Look at that chipmunk. I see a blur. See the chipmunk there? That's why I don't pollute. They don't leave trash. We got chipmunks. See, he's just standing there. There's a chipmunk. They're chipmunks. That's why I call all don't pollute, don't leave trash. Because you got flora, fauna, Flora, fauna. So it's important. Just don't leave the trash in this forest. And, put it here if it goes here, It's closed now. But it can actually be open if you have. That's probably them that are going to take it. But you're going to see on the way we have different trashes. And there's people who are paid, the public city. This was structure built in 1930. And the workers here are paid for the jobs to take the trash and to remove the trash, and the can has to be recycled. If it goes into recycling, that's gonna be in the recycling. But of course, all that relationship is of course something which we have now to countervalue. That's why we need the DGA, the Dancing Goddess Army, So in a parallel timeline, I live in the year Darkness 2030. It's the end of July, and it's been a few decades that I, in consortium with other scientists, I also have Asperger's in that part of life. I build supercomputers, microchips, ICBM rockets, and 5G, 6G, 7G antennas, and constellation of satellites, which some of them are for total SSSD, as we're going to build them here today, and total security, total service, total defense. SSD, Security Services, Surveillance, and Defense, in concordiate with my Trinity of Theories existing now in June 26th and in the past years, which I discussed and I'm going to address, especially the death fusion theory. That's part of my work. The dream, the Dancing Goddess and the Dragon Kingdom is a dream for the North American Collective, and furthermore for world peace and what have you. But there, those satellites monitor everything that's traversing. So all the citizens and all the bikes, all the cycling is, of course, all the cycling, which of course counterimposes, is of course all of them in the relationship of existing. So of course all that is of course the bikes, the trains, the planes, the citizens, those satellites across NATO. They, of course, are surveilling 24/7 surveillance. See, this is where it goes. You got the trasher, and that has to go in there. So that doesn't go here. That has to be recycled, See, that has to be recycled. That doesn't go there. So I'm gonna take it myself. But this and this, my fellow citizens, if we don't do our part, you have to do our part. So much. I'm gonna get upset. That's why we need the DGA. This bottle goes into recycling, doesn't go there, The bottle doesn't go there. That's why we need the DGA. And that's just one, That is just one. Imagine all of the across all Canada and North America, how many they are. I get upset when I see that. I get upset. I mean, not enough to ruin my day, but I do get very upset, to be honest, because see, it requires the individual to also. This is recycled. And I'm gonna have to disinfect my hands. Once we reach there, we're gonna disinfect. But these have to go in the recycling. These don't go they don't go in the trash. That's why the individual we have to. And I remember me when I worked, of course, when I worked on the compost, in 2018, 2019, I have experience, so I definitely learned about the environmental actions, proper actions, which this, you see, my brothers and sisters, it takes the individual. That's why we need the DGA, Priestess of the Goddess, laying the foundations with trillions of kisses. But that's why we need the Dancing Goddess Army, aka the Imperial Integrated Dance Legion, to dance for the environment, environmental action, and education. Because if I don't do it, if you don't do it, the individual and the corporations and the governments, we all have a stake, but it also is the individual that we have to do it as individuals as well, right? If I don't do it, probably somebody didn't put that properly. It's just because that's a garbage, because what, for XYZ reasons, you didn't want to carry it with you, you didn't want to wait, or what have you. I don't know, all the other motives, but that doesn't go there, right? It goes in the recycling. That's a garbage. There's a distinction. Garbage. Oh, see, this is a night view. That's a nice view there, see? That's a nice view where we got now, and of course that is the pyramid. That is the pyramid where we have now, see? So of course you can see there that we have those bridges. Thank you, those who built the bridges, see? So those who did the bridges, of course, in the side is of course something which we have now. And of course we have now to, of course, get, of course, all the relationships with all these buildings. But that's my favorite, so that's where we love to come here. It's nice, see? Super nice, that one, eh? Super nice, see? Super nice. Love it. And now we're gonna go back into the jungle, after we see the city and its beauty. That's a great spot there. I just didn't want to, my fellow citizen was speaking on the phone and maybe it was important. I didn't want to interfere, with his activities, and it sounded more important than me filming and discussing my ideas, theories there. That's why I didn't stay more than a few seconds, because usually, I stay about 2-3 minutes there and I discuss a bit of science and math and my parallel life where I build supercomputers and satellites telecommunication networks and microchips. But now there was somebody there, so I didn't want to interfere with the person's communications. And of course, to communicate there, it has to go to the towers, eh? It has to go to one of those towers, which I'm assuming is the one on the mountain, or it could be connected with one of the towers on the skyscrapers. Our cell phones, we're not always aware, but there's always a connection, a radio telemetry connection. Now, I'm no expert in this parallel timeline. In the year darkness 2030, I know everything there is to know about radio waves, telecommunications, and undulation, modulation, image transmission, voice transmission, everything that has to do with telecommunications, in the year darkness 2030, and science and cybernetics. Here, now, today, I'm no Claude Shannon, I'm no Stefano Dobleja, but I always do mathematics, and I can always learn. My specialty is, of course, geopolitics, and geopolitics is, of course, my special interest, and that's where we are today with the trash, garbage, not recycling. Please. And once we get to the rocks, I'm gonna have to rearrange my setting and disinfect my hands also, and disinfect the items, because we got microbes, bacteria, germs, and it's always important to disinfect, to disinfect the hands, and always call for the creation of the two complementary covenant and cooperative institutions, Dancing Goddess Army, Dragon Army, Dancing Goddess Army, the DGA for environmental education and action, because you see we got work to do, and it's not for years and years I've been doing it, but that's part of the work. I don't drive myself. If I would drive, I would drive electric. Here again in Quebec, shout out to Hydro-Quebec workers who build the dams, that's why we have the dams, which operate our 63 generating power stations, and those 63 generating power stations are, of course, averse, and they provide clean, zero pollution energy, electricity, which, of course, have to be, of course, in the relationship of existing in the... See, we're protecting the rabbits, the chipmunks, Mother Nature here. See, look at those rabbits. We're protecting them. Hey, see, look at those beauties. Hey, bunny, rabbit, what you hopping on? Let me see a song, let me hear, see. Don't worry, I don't need to hunt you. H-U-N-T. Cause you got plenty of grass and you gotta do you. I mean, we got squirrels and chipmunks and all sorts of flora and fauna, which we try to preserve here. So please, don't leave the trash here. Sometimes I just found, now I don't see, which is great, because you rain probably, but sometimes there's people you leave the trash. See, you got a trash there. See, you have it available, and citizens, workers are paid by the hour, and they come pick it up, and we got public workers who preoccupied with that. So just a call, and here you got, see the mushrooms. Look at those mushrooms, I don't know if they're edible, but they're so tiny and cute. Aren't they just super cute? Hello, mushrooms, what you see? Rock and roll it every day. Mushrooms on the prey, don't say. Gotta swing and gotta miss. Gotta swing and got those hips. Left and right and butcher, please. Yeah, we have. I love coming here for years and years and years. Sometimes I get flashes of my past lives, reincarnations here on the mountain. Mount Royal, one of the three peaks. Mount Royal, West Mount Outremer. It's of course some things which we have, of course, in the relationship of being. That's just the faculty of existing now, And have beauties like this, and beauties like that, and beauties like this, and just beware, branches fall, as I always say. See, they're smaller, but still they can fall on you, and they can cause some damage, and some are way bigger, like this monster. So you gotta be careful, and I love coming here. The air is so fresh, especially in this area here, and it's super fresh. I can do long inspirations in the lungs, Inhale strongly, inhale powerfully, and then relief, and then just rock and roll in the grid, and then just relate to Mother Nature in different ways, or more mystic or more proper by not polluting, not leaving trash or garbage here, because got plenty of that outside in civilization. So it's a universal revolutionary centrism, by universal revolutionary centrism best, fusing Canada and the United States and establishing the complementary covenant and cooperative institutions as discussed in my Dragon Army initiatives, and for years and years and years. Suffice it to say, and important to say, that geopolitics is my special interest, and I'm not just an independent androgynous pansexual artist and athlete, but a geopolitical philosopher, thinker, strategist, and of course analyst. And I predicted what's happening now. Back in 2019. October 2019, I predicted that there was going to be an international conflagration, and that international conflagration has been happening as I predicted it back in October 2019 in a parallel manner. Not all details, of course, were outlined in my prediction, and I also created a workout training program system, which I created designed to go hand in hand with a World War III scenario, of which, of course, I performed myself more than 372 sessions, and here I say, from there to there, build the pyramid, House of the Dragon, Scarlet Crimson, House of the Dragon, and Forgotten Goddess Temple, which we will to build Forgotten Goddess Temple in parallel with the Forgotten Goddess Temple, the Rainbow People's Palace for my fellow LGBTQ community, and the Rainbow People's Palace with for my fellow neurodivergents. I'm just gonna do a little bit of that cleaning of the hands, disinfecting of the hands, and we're gonna end it on here. This have to be recycled, but super important that you disinfect the hands. Hands gotta be disinfected. Super important. See, we got those hands, of course, to be disinfected in the left and in the right, and put a little bit of that hand sanitizer. Super important. Disinfect, rub, and here we are. Disinfect the hands, stretch a bit. And these, as I said, have to be put. I'm gonna put them here in this black bag, and I'm gonna drop them all at the next recycling point. Now that I disinfected my hands, so I touch them, this is gonna be where we'll drop them from this black bag. And if we find others along the way, we're gonna stash them exactly in the black bag as well. Not this Sharpie. This have to throw properly where to its proper location because it has ink, right? So because it has ink, it's different. And I'm auctioning this bag for $1 million, $1 billion, $1 trillion. In fact, my announcement. Oh, it's dirty again. I washed it by hand the other day. I don't put it in the machine, but I washed it by hand. And this is it for today. And now we're gonna get back home. We're gonna do the other videos. The other videos are gonna be related to the DRT. And here we're gonna come and build a pyramid house of the dragon. We already got some rocks and already got started for the pyramid, scarlet, crimson, or shades of red. And let's build the Imperial People's Coliseum, the Forgotten Goddess Temple, and rock and roll in, pledge allegiance, legions, to our family, bury me here atop the mountain.